Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. I'm Becky Medellin. You're watching ECN 12, and we're talking today to a musician from Los Angeles, Jay Mason. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
And we're also joined by Alan Perkins, the jazz director at Edinburgh North High School. And they're both here to talk about an event that's going on at the Municipal Auditorium and the importance of music education, because that's basically what's happening at the auditorium. So tell us first about this event. What are you planning?
Well, the event was actually a bit of a brainchild that I had back in October, of bringing Jay, finding a way to bring Jay into the Valley, so that we could sort of jumpstart jazz education in this region of the Valley. Over in the Brownsville area, it is a little bit stronger than it is here. I was trying to find ways to be able to bring him here. And Gene Espinoza of the City Council came to me. Actually, he and I were chatting, and he said, what would it cost? And I said, well, it depends on how many days we have him out and blah, blah, blah. And Jay and I spoke about different ways of doing this. And he was kind enough to come up with a financial way that we could make a workshop and a concert happen for a reasonable amount of money. And Gene said, let me go to the City Council. I don't think this is going to be a problem. You know, we believe in supporting this. And the next thing I knew, the very next day, it was approved.
Okay. So, Mr. Mason, you're in town for this educational workshop, but as we said, you're from Los Angeles, so tell me about your background and your experience in music.
Okay, well, I've been playing the saxophone professionally since about 1981. I have a degree in saxophone from California State University in Long Beach in the Los Angeles basin. And I started playing professionally actually while I was still in school. And as luck would have it, part of my educational background is I'm now gone full circle. I'm a part-time professor there teaching saxophone and jazz at the school. But after that I went out and started freelancing, and I landed a job in the Disneyland Band from 1988 till 1997, which is a good place to learn how to do what I do. I'm what's known as a woodwind doubler in Los Angeles, which means that I play saxophone, but I also play flute and clarinet and oboe. And so that was where I got that together. And I left there in 1997 and started freelancing again, and doing studio work and television work and live shows and that sort of thing. And then also teaching privately and working with people like Alan and then the California State University Long Beach. And I also play in a big band called Gordon Goodwin's Big Fat Band. It's PHAT. And we're a group of studio musicians out of Los Angeles. And we often go out and do concerts like this as a group and give clinics and workshops and things like this. And so it's a real big educational outreach to try to help people understand what jazz is about and what it is that we do, and to encourage them in their own studies of music.
Now, are you working with the Edinburgh North Jazz Group also? Have they been able to get together?
Yes, and we'll be producing a wonderful concert with Jay.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
okay.
Yep, definitely.
And so what is the importance to you of going out there and talking to kids? I mean, how does that help them, or what do you think young people learn from learning about music?
Okay, well, let's start with the first part. I think the importance of it is that when we get out there, we were all kids once too, and there were bands, much more jazz and big bands, stuff that I do now, in the 70s and the 80s and even the 90s, where bands would go out and they would do camps, workshops, that sort of thing. And I graduated from high school in 1979, so you'd go see these bands and you'd be inspired by the players. And a lot of times the players would do what I'm doing this week, which is they'd come and work with us one-on-one. We'd get to hear them play individually. We'd get to hear how they approach what they do, how they practiced, how they learned their craft. And it came very clear that, okay, you know, these are normal guys and gals and we can do this, you know, and that was really inspirational. So that's really important to me about what I'm doing here, is getting a chance to inspire the kids a little bit, you know, and give them a little bit of a sense of it can be done and here's how you approach it.
Right.
So.
Have you done other workshops like this around the country? Do you do them often?
Yes, I've this year actually. In the next 4 weeks, I'm doing another one, but that's going to be in Los Angeles. But yeah, I've done some in other places around the country.
Okay, so what is, I guess, your teaching style, or how do you get across to these young people? What's a good message for them if they're trying to learn?
Well, the first thing I do is I'll play for them and let them hear, what I think is great saxophone and flute and clarinet playing. I brought 2 saxophones and a flute and a clarinet with me on the trip. Okay. And the next thing that we'll do then is we'll talk about the various nuts and bolts of that. By that I mean things like the equipment is a little bit of an issue for some of these guys, like what kind of mouthpiece and reed and that sort of thing. Trumpet players, if I was a trumpet player, they would talk about the gear, the trumpet itself, mouthpieces and that sort of thing. But then more importantly than that, it's how you practice. That's a big one I'm going to be covering, because a lot of kids don't know how you practice. Another one we're going to talk about is how to listen to jazz specifically, because to me jazz is a language. And you can learn it. You can kind of be taught music theory and how to play your instrument well, but you have to listen to the music and you have to get into it. So my goal with this project is to come and play with these kids at the workshop and have them hear what I do, and hopefully have them be inspired the way I was when I was a kid and say, okay, great, that's what a really great saxophone or flute or clarinet should sound like. Now, how do I go about emulating that? So the listening is a big part of it. Not only, and then beyond those 2 things, it's also going to be, little things like airstream, fingers, that sort of stuff. Those are all things that you would often get from a private teacher, and maybe some of the kids don't have access to that. So hopefully, I can give them enough stuff to go on.
Okay, and Mr. Perkins, you work with these students all the time, so for local students who are trying to learn, they don't always have access to a very experienced musician, but what would you say to them, or how can they get that access to the learning experience?
Well, there are many ways that they can, especially living in the 21st century. There are use of the internet for the kids. Many musicians like Jay have interactive websites where they can actually go, and it's almost like being with that musician. So our kids are very fortunate now that to have things that when Jay and I were younger we didn't. We had to go listen to those great bands, those great musicians live, so that we could understand, oh, this is what it really is supposed to be. This is what it really sounds like. This is what I should be attempting to do with my instrument. The kids are very excited. They're very excited about having a musician of Jay's caliber come to the Valley. It's not often that we have Grammy Award-winning musicians come to the Valley to perform with children. And that's why I was so thankful to the City Council for approving this and funding this event, because they get it and they understand that the school district itself can't do it all, and that the city wants to promote the arts. I know the mayor himself is very proactive about arts, and not just cultural arts of the Valley, but for the kids to experience American art. And jazz is truly America's music. It's what we are known for. It was born here. So we want to help them to have a better understanding of what the music of our country really is.
Now, around the Valley, do you see a change? Do you think music education and arts education is becoming more important to people?
Well, we're living in difficult times, obviously, and there are cutbacks occurring, in the districts, and unfortunately, the arts are sometimes looked at as simply enrichment, and they're not a part of the tax testing. So they can be cut back, because we're so driven to achieve those those tax scores. Most aware administrators in the districts which are ranked exemplary understand that the stronger their arts programs are, the stronger their core academics are. They go hand in hand. Music is one of the only instrumental music in particular is one of the only activities that a child does during the whole day that is a whole brain activity. Both hemispheres of the brain are in sync together. When they go sit in the math class or the science class or the biology or chemistry class, one of the other hemispheres is the majority active part of the brain, whereas when we play an instrument, both hemispheres are in sync and working together. So it really strengthens the kids' intellectual capacity, which feeds over. I mean, if you look at most of our schools here at ECISD or in any of the other local districts, most of the valedictorians and salutatorians all have backgrounds in the arts. So it is important, and events like this just help keep that out there so that those people who are in control of curriculum and funding and whatnot for the districts understand that having strong arts programs benefits every child.
Right. Well, hopefully they will realize that. And you mentioned the interactive website. I didn't know about that, so tell me about your website.
Oh, well, it's www.jmasonmusic.com.
Okay.
And at this point, I have all of the things that I teach. I'm gradually working through and putting up the materials that I'm going to give out tomorrow as one example. We haven't quite got links yet to videos, but there's all kinds of stuff of me playing with the Fat Band on YouTube that I recommend when people ask me, you know, is there some way I can hear you play, and, you know, try to maybe copy what you're doing. I mean, I go on YouTube and just type in J. Mason Big Fat Band. But one of the things that we're definitely looking at getting going on it is an interactive thing where people, and by the way, anyone's welcome to email me at that. You know, once you go on the website, you'll see my email. And if you have questions about what I do, or, you know, a question about playing, anybody can ask. I always make that whenever I do one of these educational things. I always offer that to everybody. But that's the kind of thing that I'm going to get going. Is it's not up there yet, but it will be probably almost as soon as I get home. And all the things that we did this weekend will just get added to it.
All right.
Well, and it was kind of amazing too with some of the kids from North. Whenever they knew that Jay was going to come, they emailed him, and he responds to his emails. So he responded to the kids, and sure enough, they would come in and go, you know what, Jay responded to me. He wrote me back. And I said, right, he's a real human being. and he's going to respond back to you. One girl that said, well, you know, I wrote President Obama and he didn't write back. And I said, well, Jay will write back. So, you know, that kind of communication can be long distance, but still it's learning.
Yeah. Sounds like your students are proactive. They were getting prepared.
They were getting prepared, yes.
Okay, well, we're just about out of time. Thank you both for joining us and talking about, you know, music education in the Valley, which is so important. So I hope, as you said, that people realize how important it is and the schools realize it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you both for being here. And thank you for joining us. You're watching ECN 12. I'm Becky Medellin.
Please welcome the El Toro High School Marching Band. El Toro's musical selection is entitled The Art of War, music from Inchon by Robert W. Smith, and Marimba Spiritual La Vida Symphony by Ito. Bands of America is proud to present in finals performance drum majors Allison Williams and Tyler Gregston and the El Toro High School Marching Band.
Your band ready. Chaparral High School Platinum Sound, you may take the field in competition.